I'm Catherine Jansen and I'm here with Catherine Robson, founder of Affinity Private and CEO. Catherine, insurance is something that's really expensive and people often complain about paying for it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. I saw this fantastic research that was done by a psychology professor from Harvard, Dan Gilbert, just recently. And what he's demonstrated really simply is that we're actually not very good at predicting the future. So he did this little experiment where he gave people two choices, a whole lot of different coloured magnets. And on the blue magnets, it were things that were not very pleasant, so things like divorce or illness, losing your job. And on the yellow magnets, it was good things like getting married, going on a holiday, getting a pay rise, that sort of stuff. And then he had two big walls, one was the past and one was the future, and asked people to put a magnet on each side. And when it was finished, and there was more than 100 people that took part in the experiment, the past wall was an even mix between blue and yellow. So an even mix of good and bad things. But then when you looked at the future wall, it was almost all yellow. So I think we don't really have a good appreciation for the reality that our future will be mixed. And that's good in a way. I mean, it's what they call the optimism bias, so that we expect the future to be better than the past. And that's fantastic because, sometimes you wouldn't get out of bed if you thought it was going to be as bad as yesterday. But I think that's one of the reasons that we really are challenged by insurance, and it seems expensive, is because we think that we're not going to be sick in the future, we're not going to have accidents in the future, we're not going to have challenges in the future, and so why should we insure against them? And it's interesting because I think, some of the complaints you get about insurance is particularly around sort of personal insurances. So we all insure our homes, we all insure our cars. But when you think about the value of our earnings over our lifetime, so if you think about someone who's earning $60,000 a year from age 20 to 40, I mean, that's $2.4 million in value over the course of that working lifetime, which is so much more than I think most people's cars are worth, for example. And you wouldn't consider driving your car without insurance. But, really, as a proportion of the community, there's a very small minority of people who hold, say, income protection insurance, which ensures that an income would come in if you suffer illness or accident and you can't work. So I think there are reasons why insurance is getting more expensive. So I think as a community, we don't manage our health well. So, we're suffering from things like anxiety and stress and having a sedentary lifestyle that leads to, people being overweight and having diabetes, those sort of things. So they do factor into premium costs, and I think, one of the things that, is good for all of us is to think about, living a healthy lifestyle, because not only will it make you happier and healthier, but, it'll help bring your insurance premiums down. Yeah. But I think the main thing is that when we genuinely get realistic about what the future might bring, and just think a little bit about what the trade-offs are, so spending a little bit of money now on providing security for the future, as compared to being in a disaster scenario where, God forbid you have cancer or have a heart attack or something like that, that actually when you put it in that context, that insurance is not expensive at all, and in some ways it's a fantastic investment.
Great. Thanks for that
All right.
insight.
Thanks.